I'm going to ask you some more light-hearted questions.
Very good.
But hard questions.
Very good.
These are the questions that have stumped previous aspiring prime ministers.
Very good.
What's the naughtiest thing you've ever done?
Well, Harry, again...
Theresa May answered, and she never answered questions.
Nobody gives an honest answer to that, do they? Because how do you come on here and say what's the naughtiest thing you've ever done?
Go on, give us a little.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Oh, it's going to get worse. Are you religious? Tony Blair's famous question.
No, I'm not. I'm a great believer in faith, but I'm not personally religious.
How many children do you have?
I have 2 children.
Boris Johnson question. And now I can't believe I'm going to do this on television, but the Nick Clegg question. How many people have you slept with?
And I'm not going to answer that one
you didn't walk into that, did you?
Yeah.
But one you've been asked before, like David Cameron, you've been asked this before. You didn't answer it, though. When did you last take illegal drugs?
Harry, I had a good time when I was a student.
What does a good time when you're a student look like there?
It means I had a good time when I was a student.
But what does that mean?
It means I had a good time when I was a
Smoking
student.
some spliffs, doing some acid, partying, drugs? What was it?
A good time.
You're not answering the question, are you?
I had a good time when I was a student.
Did you ever do drugs after you left university?
Look, I had a good time when I was a student, and whichever way you put this, Harry...
Did you do drugs when you were a lot?
Look, Harry, I'm not going down that road.
You can see why people think you're untrustworthy, though, when you won't answer a simple question.
Well, I've explained I had a good time at university, and that's as long and the short of it. There is nothing...
You know everyone at home's thinking the answer to the question is yes, though.
I think if you look... I mean, Tom Baldwin just did a big book on me, as you know, and...
I haven't read it
search,
yet, I'm sorry.
I read your book.
All right, I will read it. I will read it.
So you've got to read it.
OK, fine. I will read it. Why don't people trust you?
Well, look, I've been very clear since I came into politics that I'm in here to do a job of change. I mean, I came into politics late in life. I'd run the Crown Prosecution Service, and I came in to change things and to improve the country. And that's what I've been doing for the last 9 years. And that's what I want the chance to take to the country this year in the election.
It does seem to happen a lot, though, doesn't it? You say one thing to try and get one job, and now you're saying something completely different to get a different job. You chop and change.
No, I don't accept that, Harry. I mean, if you look at what I said in order to become leader of the Labour Party, a good deal of that has now fed into the missions that I launched last year that you studied carefully.
A good deal of it's gone to the wayside, though.
Well, most of it is still there in the missions that are there. But some things have had to change, sadly. So, for example, when I was running for Labour leader, I said that we would abolish tuition fees. Now, 5 years on, with the economy where it is, it's simply not affordable. And I've got a choice to make with the electorate, which is, do I be upfront before the election about what we actually can afford and what we can't? Or do I pretend we can deliver something which I know we actually can't? And I'm in the camp of saying, look, what I don't want to have is a situation where after the election, we're breaking our promises, and therefore I'm taking the decision before the election.
So you're taking the hit now rather than breaking promises after?
I would rather look the public in the eye now and say, there are things I would have liked to have done, but we can't afford to do it because the Tories have broken the economy. And I'm being straight with you. Rather than going to an election saying, I can do all these wonderful things, and guess what? Just like you've been let down before, afterwards, we won't be able to deliver it. I'm not going to do that.
On your track record, though, you can understand why our readers think that you would say one thing, and they're worried that you're saying stuff now, and then once you get in power, you're going to do something completely different. What do you say to that?
Look, we've set out very clearly the change we want to bring about in the country. You've heard myself and Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor, set out how careful we're going to be with the money, the public money, recognising that's taxpayers' money, and really set out some tight rules about fiscal responsibility and how much we value public money. That's very unusual for an opposition to set out that sort of detail so far from an election, but we've done it deliberately because we know that trust really matters in this election. I think there are two groups of people in this election looking at all of us, including me. One group say, look, the country is so broken now, it's not possible to fix it. And another saying, I don't really trust any politicians. And we've got to meet both those challenges.
Talking of elections and trust, most of our readers, this came up a lot from our readers, they remember you standing next to your friend, Jeremy Corbyn, in 2019. You said this: I'm 100% behind Jeremy Corbyn. I am working with Jeremy Corbyn to try and win the next general election. I think that's critical. When you told Sun readers to vote for Jeremy Corbyn, did you mean it?
I didn't think we'd win the 2019 election.
So you didn't mean it?
I didn't think we would win. I didn't think we were ready.
You can see...
And now, hear me out, Harry. Now we're at the stage we are in 2024, and I can see what it means to be ready for an election and ready for government. I see even more clearly how we weren't ready in 2019.
But you stood in front of the voters and said
I was standing for an election as a Labour candidate, just as every Tory was standing supporting Boris Johnson, whether they actually support him or not, and just as they will stand and support Rishi Sunak into this election, whether or not they actually support him, because I was standing as a Labour candidate in the last election.
Another thing people remember before very well is Brexit. You vowed to respect the result of the referendum. There's video clips of you saying that, but then you spent years spearheading attempts to block it. This came up time and time again from our readers. You ultimately tried to put it to another vote, having said you'd respect the result. Can you understand how that looks to our readers and why they don't trust you on Brexit?
Well, look, on Brexit, I think we have to cast our minds back. The country was completely divided. We had, 3 years of arguments, of different positions. The Tory party was divided, my party was divided, the country was divided, and we were all trying to find a way forward. What I did do was we voted through the Brexit deal after the last general election. Now, I did that because I thought it was the only way for the country to move forward. I still think we could get a better deal. I think we should be able to trade more freely with Europe. I think that we should have a closer defence and security set of arrangements with Europe. But I've completely accepted the result. I've voted for the Brexit deal, and we need to look forward and certainly not look back. I don't think anybody wants to go back to that period of division.
But so on the key fundamentals, free movement, yes or no?
No.
Customs union?
No.
Some of your front benchers are a bit wobbly on that when you ask them privately. They think that there's a
They're not when I ask them.
Single market.
No.
So
you can't
it's
go
all
back
kaput.
into those institutions.
Does that hurt you, though? Because you love the EU.
Well, look, I worked with the EU. When I was chief prosecutor for 5 years, running all the prosecutions in England and Wales, I worked with my counterparts across Europe because we had to deal with terrorist gangs that were working in Europe. We had to deal with people that were smuggling guns and drugs across Europe. And so I felt that that was a very important thing that we should have. And I still want us to be able to work in that way.
But look, still wish we were in the EU.
Look, we've left.
There's but do you wish we were still in the EU?
We've left. There's no. I'm not going to go back and reopen those divides. I voted
sounds
for.
Sounds like a yes.
No. I voted for Remain. I wanted us to remain. The country voted out, and that's why after the last election in 2019, I voted for a Brexit deal, and we are now out. We're not going back in, but I think that we all have to recognise that the economy is not in a good place, our public service is not in a good place, and my job, if I'm privileged enough to win the election, will be, as it were, to pick the country up, fix the immediate problems and take our country forward so we can genuinely say after 5 or 10 years, this country is now better than it was in 2024 when we were elected into office, if we are elected into office.